Mini episode 848 of the FDH Lounge is brought to you by Sportsology, delivering unconventional columns and webcasts about sports, TV, music, movies, and more. Follow them on the web at sportsology.com.
The FDH Lounge. You want to schedule your life around it.
A long time ago, on a gloomy, wet Cleveland spring night, two men stand alone amidst the late-night drizzle. Their voices echo across the vacant station parking lot as they debate the merits of the great American radio show that have been missing for far too long. On that night, an idea was born. That idea became the FDH Lounge. Welcome to the FDH Lounge.
Welcome to FDH Lounge mini episode number 848. I'm FDH managing partner Rick Morris here with our preview of Better Call Saul episode 3.9. Here are the top 5 developments coming out of the third season's 8th episode. Number 5, Chuck can't just flip a switch and get rid of his problems. His gradual re-immersion into the electrical world is progressing slowly but surely, but Howard's visit to inform him of the issue with malpractice insurance is going to mean at least 2 steps back for his 1 step forward. And if Howard and Chuck figure out that Jimmy was the one who very helpfully told the insurance people about Chuck's meltdown, then he'll be in their heads even more than he already is. Number 4, Nacho pulls off his hit on Hector, apparently. We know where Hector ends up, mute and in a wheelchair, but we have never known how he got there. Unless a huge curveball is coming from the writers, we do know now, because Nacho was able to switch out the old man's nitroglycerin with a placebo. Mike warned Nacho about covering his tracks, and the young man was incredibly nervous all throughout his caper, so we'll see if the hunt for answers about Hector's coming collapse leads to his doorstep. Number 3, Kim gets a moment of catharsis in a season of painful change. She's had to live with her conscience about how she got the Mesa Verde account and what she and Jimmy did to Chuck, and now her growing unease about Jimmy's growing callousness. So that just made the confrontation at the valet stand with Howard sweeter, as she finally stood up to her mentor and threw his crap back in his face. There's been plenty of passive aggressiveness between these two over time, but there was none of that here, as Howard attempted to shame Kim for the damage done to her old firm by her tactics, and she gave it back in spades. Of all the characters on this show and Breaking Bad, she's been the most consistently upstanding, with the possible exception of Hank and Gomi, so she certainly deserves to stand up to the bully who used to send her back to case review just because he could. Number 2, Mike breaks bad to a greater degree than ever before, and we know the consequences. To this point, Mike's had lines that he hasn't wanted to cross, and maybe getting the Good Samaritan's body back to his family has freed him up somewhat in terms of his conscience. It bears saying, though, that the decision to go back to Gus for help in money laundering, knowing that he'd probably be sucked into employment, as he certainly was, didn't come with as much buildup as this great creative team normally provides us. We haven't seen Mike lose any sleep over the issue of how the money that he was saving for his granddaughter was going to be untraceable, and now he's made a very fateful decision because of it. Both he and Gus will survive their war with the cartel in the upcoming years, only to fall both at the hands of Walter White, and very poignantly, in a fashion that will ensure that Kaylee never receives a cent of the money that her grandfather is raising for her. Now, working for Gus's drug-dealing operation, Mike can no longer afford lines that he won't cross. Number 1, Jimmy slips further down the road to Saul. The return of Slippin' Jimmy on the floor of the music store showed more about the ends justify the means philosophy that will come to dominate this character's life. In the previous episode, we saw the beginning of the end of Jimmy McGill as he became swallowed whole by bitterness in the wake of losing his law license. This week, the transformation continues by pushing Jimmy more into Saul territory by the way that he handles his business. And while Kim doesn't know how Jimmy secured the business from the music store, she sees him changing and she doesn't like it. Jimmy McGill is capable of being devastated by losing the love of a good woman. Saul Goodman won't be. But rooting for him to become a full-fledged jerk so that he doesn't care about losing Kim is a zero-sum game, because that will make us feel even worse for her if that's how they go their separate ways. That's how it goes on a show with as much tragedy packed into it as this one is. You take the pain with the pleasure when you invest in these characters. There's sure to be more of both coming as we build toward the end of Season 3. Thank you for tuning into this mini episode of the FDH Lounge.
As we bring the show to a close, we would like to extend our deepest gratitude to NBC, CBS, ABC, Fox, all Clear Channel affiliates, TNT, TBS, USA, UPN, Deadspin.com, YouTube.com, YTMND.com, MySpace.com, various blogs, Fox News, CNN, CNBC, MSNBC, IamBoard.com, Billboard.com, Google.com, ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN News, ESPN Classic, NBA TV, NFL Network, Sports Time Ohio, Athlon Magazine, Comedy Central, Cartoon Network, The Boomerang Channel, QVC, BET, The Spice Channel, Steno Notebooks, Manwich, Papermate Office Supplies, waitresses, strippers, bartenders, garbage men, janitors, microwave popcorn, the writers of The Office, Scrubs, Entourage, My Name is Earl, Oz, Metalocalypse and the Boondocks, Aquafina, and the Periodic Table of Elements.